Welcome to the Arrington Gavin Show. Real talk, big opinions, and fearless conversations. From the front lines of politics to the latest in pop culture. From breaking sports headlines to the stories that move the world. Nothing's off limits, and nobody's holding back. Arrington Gavin is here to break it down, build it up, and keep it all the way real. So turn it up, lean in, and let's get into it. This is the Arrington Gavin Show.
What is happening, my friends? Welcome to another great episode of the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it is politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, we're diving deep and keeping it real. So please do me a favor, kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. Look, my friends, on today's conversation, I'm honored to have Officer Wallace Chadwick. He is a current candidate for Chesapeake City Sheriff. This man has served not only for our country in the Marines, but he's also served our community on the police force here in the city of Chesapeake, my home city, y'all. So I'm very honored to have him on. Previously we've had his opponent, current Sheriff Dave Rosado on, and it's a big election happening on a local level. And here on the program, we love to talk local politics too. And it's not just because you're not from Chesapeake doesn't mean these issues can't relate to you. It's an important piece that you all know what's happening in your backyard. We can time and time again know what's happening on a national level, right? What happens in Washington, but guess what happens in Washington trickles down to a state level, which will trickle down to a local level. So that's why, y'all, it is important to do your research. It's important to be aware of who serves what position in your local community. Stop being clueless. I can't stand when folks will say, wait, what? I didn't know that. Well, come on. That's what I'm here for, baby. That's what I'm here for. I'm trying to keep you guys informed, y'all. So I'm very excited to have on Officer Chadwick. One thing we have in common, we are Chesapeakeans, lifelong Chesapeake residents. He's already a cool dude just by talking to him before the show. So I'm very excited, looking forward to this conversation. But before we get going, y'all, as always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your guys' busy schedule to tune into, just 1 hour of your time to tune into the Arrington Gavin Show. Multiple ways you can tune into the program. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube right now, do me a favor, like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with family. Want to keep that algorithm going. Want to keep that momentum going. Each and every day, y'all, I kid you not, we will add 1 to 2 subscribers on a daily basis. We want to keep that number going a bit higher. We're seeing large numbers in our viewership, so I want to thank you, and let's keep that momentum going. In addition to streaming us on YouTube, you can also stream us on Goatverse TV. That's right, Goatverse TV. So if you have not downloaded the app yet, please do so. It's available on the App Store, Google Play Store, Roku, as well as Amazon Fire TV. And now if you prefer to just listen to this wonderful voice, the sexy voice that you're listening right now, look, you can tune in to wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're available on all major podcast platforms. In addition to that, you can also tune into us on the radio airwaves to one of our 2 radio affiliates that we partner with. One of them being in New Orleans. You probably listen to us right now by way of WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about. Be sure to tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Again, that's only on WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about. And then we're going to move it on to the Metro Atlanta area to WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. You can tune into the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, that's only on WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. All right, now that I got that out the way, y'all, I hope you all are doing great. I hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. I will say, it's still a lot happening in our world, man. Obviously, and we've mentioned to it before. I shared a episode where I just discussed the issue, in my opinion, with political violence. And I will say it just like how I said in the previous one, it has to stop. It has to stop. It's still, regardless if you agree or disagree with the late Charlie Kirk, it's a tragedy that the man lost his life based on folks who did not agree with them. So at the end of the day, I say it time and time again, I don't wish harm on my worst enemy. And so that, my friends, we have to continue to put an end to this political violence. And so I don't know about y'all, but it's still been like, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And I've had the opportunity to speak with friends of mine that are elected officials, right, on a local, state, even a higher level than that. And I'm just, they're fearful, right? It's a tough climate. But at the end of the day, y'all, if y'all keep faith, keep it positive, and, agree to disagree, right? Where did that time go? Agree to disagree. So if we can continue to do that, I think we can be in a good place. But before we move forward, y'all, what else do I have on the chopping block for you all? Let me get our fun fact of the day. Hold tight as I grab that fun fact. Let's see. What fun fact are we gonna do? We've done sports, we've done music. Let's do okay. Let me lean towards the great state of VA. All right. So today's fun fact is, drum roll, please. If y'all ever heard of the city of Suffolk, I think that's how to pronounce it. I don't know. Everybody always has a different pronunciation of Suffolk, just like Norfolk. I'm like, whatever. But Suffolk, Virginia, known as the peanut capital. Did y'all know that? Yeah. Known as the peanut capital, is known as the peanut capital of the world. And I had the opportunity not too long ago to actually host one of their annual peanut fest parades. I partnered with a local television station and was honored to be one of the co-hosts of that. And I tell you, I learned a lot about peanuts. I mean, I thought I already knew, the basic things, hey, peanut butter, this, that, and the other, George Washington Carver, all that good stuff. But the line of families and generations of peanut farmers, I'm like, wow, it blew my mind. So, hey, you learn something new every day. For those who are outside of the state of Virginia and were unaware of, like, wait a minute, the peanut capital, we should go check it out. We should go visit. You should, because it has a lot of rich history there. So, hey, there's your fun fact. Again, brought to you by yours truly. Let's go ahead, y'all, and we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'll be honored to have on our special guest for this evening, Officer Wallace Chadwick, again, candidate for Chesapeake Sheriff. So do not go anywhere. Do not change that dial. You're listening to the Arrington Gavin Show.
Every man has a story to tell. Your ambitions, your achievements, your legacy. Your suit should reflect that story, crafted precisely, designed for impact, and tailored exclusively for you. We work with only the finest fabrics, luxurious wools, silk, linen, and blends from world-renowned mills in Italy, the UK, and India. These fabrics are the foundation of custom suits that exude elegance and stand the test of time. But a suit isn't just about fabric, it's about fit, and it's about confidence, and it all starts with you. When you work with me, you'll receive a personalized consultation, whether in person or over Zoom. Together, we'll explore your vision and discuss your needs, and we're gonna bring your ideas to life. My journey as a designer includes apprenticing under New York-based designer Clavon Leonard, showcasing collections at New York Fashion Week, Algeria Fashion Week, and the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. That experience is what we bring to every suit we create, from weddings to corporate events and everything in between. We specialize in crafting one-of-a-kind suits for life's most significant moments. Dapper Luke has been recognized as one of Baltimore's best menswear in 2023, and I was honored to be one of the 10 designers selected for the prestigious Baltimore Met Gala. With over 900 satisfied clients, we proudly serve Virginia Beach and Baltimore, bringing world-class designs to these incredible communities. We don't just make suits, we craft confidence. Your suit will fit your body, your style, and it will tell your story. Book your free online personal consultation today. Visit www.dapperluke.com.
Order your beard care products with Rugged Evolution. We're your local beard care line that supports the maintenance of your full, mature beard. Our line includes conditioning shampoos, moisturizers, balms, oils, shaving lotions, and exfoliating soaps. These products moisturize, hydrate, nourish, and have all the natural ingredients for a healthy beard. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. And remember,
rugged is the new smooth.
And we still in traffic.
Don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up.
With me?
Yeah, this that new Gold Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of the app he said?
Introducing Goatverse TV.
Goatverse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In GOATs, we trust.
All right, my friends, welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I'm your guy, your homie, Arrington Gavin. As I mentioned earlier, I'm honored to have on a special guest on the show. Without further ado, let's bring on the one, the only, Officer Wallace Chadwick. Officer Chadwick, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you doing today?
Man, I can't complain. I'm doing great. Look, honored to have you on. First and
Thank
foremost,
you.
before we kind of get going with that, I just want to thank you so much for your service. I was reading more on your bio prior to this interview and to this conversation. I always hate the word interview. I'm like, it's a conversation. Like, just
right.
Something that just gives me the like, oh. But want to thank you for your service, because you not only did you serve, of course, you served our city here, but you also served in the Marines. So again, I thank you for your service, because you served on multiple levels, and an honor to have you on. But for our listeners and viewers who are unfamiliar, who are just want to get to know more Officer Chadwick, if you don't mind just sharing some background about yourself. Just you can go as far as your upbringing. Look, we got time. We got to, like I said, it's a conversation, it's not an interview.
I love a good conversation, man. I appreciate you having me here tonight, and your guests for listening and giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about myself and my run for sheriff. So thank you for that. As you mentioned before, I was born right here in Hampton Roads, Portsmouth, Virginia. For all of you who know where that is, right here on the Mid-Atlantic coast. When I was 2 years old, I moved over to Chesapeake. My dad got a job closer to the city of Chesapeake. And I've been here since I was 2 years old. I'm 48 now, so I've been here quite a long time here in Chesapeake. I grew up in, for those of you who are aware of Indian River, grew up right there on the South Norfolk Greenbrier line here in Indian River, where I attended the Chesapeake Public Schools right here for my life. Graduated from Indian River High School in 1995, which seems like 100 years ago now.
Hey, that is a great year, by the way.
Yes. Excellent year. But I enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps as a junior in high school because I really felt the need to serve my community. I enjoyed listening to people talk. I had some good influences. Jimmy Fry, I'm gonna give that man a shout out right now. It's my principal at Indian River High School. He's a person here in Chesapeake that's well known all around. But had a huge influence on my life. A lot of good leaders in my life. My father, my mother. But I wanted to serve in my country. So I joined the U.S. Marine Corps. They had the coolest posters, man. Can't lie. So I joined the Marine Corps and served 4 years during peacetime. I was not a combat veteran, so I like to put that out there because I really think people should say that. I served in peacetime. I did do a float on a Navy vessel. Went down to Puerto Rico where we did some humanitarian efforts. And I did serve on the border down in Texas and Mexico with the Joint Task Force. We did some engineering operations, building roads for Border Patrol, trying to do some things down there. But I got out and really wanted to continue my service. And an easy transition from the military is law enforcement. If you think about it, I mean, they still have the same structured chain of command. They have the discipline that's there, and they really have that service mentality. And you're working with the community. You're doing things every day that kind of relate to military service in a sort of way. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to do it here in Chesapeake. Like I said, I grew up here. I've got friends, family, mentors, and I really wanted to get embedded in my community. So 2000, I joined the Chesapeake Police Department. I got married in the same year, and I bought a house in the same year. Jesus. And I had my first child in the same year. So 2000 was a busy year for the Chadwick household. So joined the police department, was elected class president. Had that Marine Corps mentality, lead from the front. So I really took that to heart and been successful for the last 26 years in the police department, almost 26 years. In my time in the police department, I served in every area of the Chesapeake, Western Branch, Hickory, Great Bridge, Indian River, South Norfolk. Most of my time was done in South Norfolk because that's where I had roots, and I enjoyed working in the community there. Mm-hmm. I was a school resource officer for Great Bridge High School from 2003 to 2009, which was probably one of the most rewarding jobs I had in the police department. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, you're the only person in that school that can talk to youth as an officer. And one of the things in law enforcement is to try and break down that barrier between today's youth and you know, somebody in a uniform, you know, is intimidating sometimes. You know, they don't want to go talk to them. So you really have to get embedded in the school, talk to kids. And it was one of the best jobs I ever had. I mentored numerous kids over those years. I used to go pick them. Parents would call me in the morning. Hey, Johnny doesn't want to go to school today. I said, I'm on the way. I'd go pick Johnny up. I'd throw a t-shirt his way. Hey, you're wearing this, get up, you know, and we put him in the car and take him to school. And, you know, I had kids that just didn't have, you know, maybe they didn't have a father figure in their life. Maybe they didn't have structure in their home. And I mean, that was the policing that I enjoyed doing, you know, was getting down and talking to these kids and telling them, hey, you know, life ain't easy. You know, you're gonna have to find a path, and mentoring them that way. So after I got done with that, they put me down at the police academy where I became a staff instructor for training young police recruits, which again, a great job. You know, you have the chance to form a young mind coming into law enforcement the correct way, and show them, you know, that this, you know, in my department specifically, our mission statement starts with, and this is powerful right here, is in partnership with the community. And then that right there says it all. I mean, that right there is why I joined law enforcement. And it's one of my favorite things to say. So you got to train those kids that it's not just out there running lights and sirens and putting people in handcuffs. You know, you really have to talk to the community and do community policing work. So I had a good chance to influence kids that way, or I say kids, young adults coming into law enforcement that way. After that, I started the first ever gang suppression unit here in the city of Chesapeake. Gang work was always one of those things that I enjoyed because you had an opportunity to talk people out of doing the wrong thing. And we were successful here in Chesapeake. You know, we do RICO cases. You know, we did all kinds of gang cases, gang recruitment, gang involvement when it comes to different crimes, robberies, homicides, that kind of stuff. So I did that for 5 years. Again, a very rewarding job. And after that, I promoted myself out of that great job to the rank of sergeant. And they put me back at the academy as assistant director. So I worked down at the academy, leading officers, leading recruits, which was a good job. And that was really fun doing those things. And I promoted myself out of that good job to the rank of lieutenant. So success comes with, you know, it's perks. However, you know, you get those jobs that you don't want to leave, but at the same time, you know, one of my mentors, who's now our deputy chief of police, you know, he taught me, you know, there's no growth in the comfort zone. You know, you have to get yourself out there and you have to push on. So I promoted myself to lieutenant, where I became executive officer of the Deep Creek precinct, which I had an opportunity to work with leadership out there and do some good things in the community out in Deep Creek. And now currently I'm assigned to, I'm the executive officer, lieutenant still, in charge of special operations for the city of Chesapeake. So my job with that is working with event planning. You know, we do all the big events here in the city of Chesapeake. I run the traffic bureau. I have the motor squad, crime prevention. So a lot of different areas. You know, I work a lot with budgets, administration, things like that. So not so much on the ground anymore, but doing a lot of those things that help run the department. And in that time, we have collateral duties. So I hopped on with the Maritime Operations Unit in 2002 as a police diver. And I've been doing that work for the last 23 years. And I'm also the operations commander for the dive team and the Marine Patrol Unit. So we have a fleet of 5 vessels and, of course, a complement of divers with 16 divers in the Chesapeake Police.
Wow. So y'all, so I take it, Officer Chadwick, you know a thing or two about law enforcement, is what you're basically telling me.
A little bit. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just a little bit, man. But that's awesome, though, because one thing that I get out of everything what you just told me is service. And service is something that I,
yes,
definitely comes, near and dear to me, because I myself, I was born with the service heart. That's how I was raised, be a blessing to others the way, you've been fortunate, right? And so, like you've spoken, you came from a structured household, you have great parents, great mentors. And it's like, okay, how can I repeat that? How can I continue that momentum of what they installed in me? So I think that's very awesome. It leads me to, which I think you had mentioned about being elected as like class president. When was what year, or when was that moment when that happened for you?
That was in 2000 when I was in the police academy.
Okay, so that was 2000. So right then and there, I would like to ask, did that help lead the decision of running for sheriff? Because the sheriff position is kind of looked upon as a political position. So you now enter in the field of politics. Did did that help? Well, let me say this. Was local office something that has always been like on your mind, prior in the past? Is that something that you've always wanted to pursue?
The honest answer is no. I never thought I would ever be running for local politics. I'm a family man. I have a wife of almost 26 years that I love dearly. I have three grown kids now who have the servant's heart as well. My oldest daughter, she worked at Norfolk General right here during COVID times.
Wow.
She's married to a U.S. Marine. She lives up in Quantico now. And my middle daughter is a firefighter here in Chesapeake.
Awesome. Wow.
Yep. And my youngest daughter is at James Madison University studying to be a teacher, where she's already signed a contract to come back here to Chesapeake to work. So no, politics was never on my mind. It was always family. And after the girls grew up and left, politics started to become a reality when I started talking to some of my mentors, some of my leadership, and a lot of the law enforcement officers I served with is really what led me to making this decision to run for Chesapeake Sheriff.
Now, Officer Chadwick, how would you, for our listeners that are still a bit, has questions and trying to understand the comparison between the two, would you say the role is similar to all the experience that you just spoken about? Is it pretty similar to, say, the role as a sheriff, or would you say they're two different roles?
There are some similarities, but there's some distinct differences as well. And one of the main things here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and this is this way across the U.S. Here in Virginia, we have a sheriff's office. In the Code of Virginia, it says the sheriff will be the lead law enforcement officer of the area, unless a municipality is established, which obviously here we have the city of Chesapeake, not a county. Yeah. And then the code says the chief of police will be the lead law enforcement officer. So around here, the police department handles criminal law. So if you think of any kind of criminal violations, city ordinance, state, federal, anything like that, any kind of criminal ordinance, the city of Chesapeake Police Department handles. Sheriff's office is a little bit different because they handle all civil law here in Chesapeake.
Okay.
They also handle court security, and they're in charge of all the corrections. So you have the law enforcement foundation, but there's differences between the roles that each law enforcement agency plays. So the law enforcement experience is definitely needed. You still have arrest procedures. You still have, your communication skills, your de-escalation drills. You still have your use of force continuum, which is similar, which is exactly the same as ours. So all of those things are very similar, but the roles, do differ a little bit. Correct.
Now, you say you spoke with some of your mentors, they helped led you with the decision to run. Now, why sheriff? Why the sheriff's position?
Well, again, I've been in law enforcement for 26 years. I've had a very fortunate career where I've done a vast array of many different areas in law enforcement, from investigations to administration, leading and making policy implementations, budget, fiscal responsibility, patrol operations. So I've had a huge, swath of experience in law enforcement. And as the last sheriff retired, the other sheriff, my opponent, if you're speaking of, Dave Rosado, was appointed as sheriff. That left the seat open because he had to run for an election. So I began to get phone calls from people in my police department, as well as people in the sheriff's office, to where, Mr. Rosado is the current sheriff, appointed sheriff right now. And they began to tell me stories about, hey, we really need some leadership over here. We need someone who has worked through a law enforcement system, not been given things. We need someone who's had the experience in leadership, not just given things, not just given the rank. And they really felt like they were left without leadership after the last sheriff left. Between the talks I had with them, this took many, many months, by the way. This wasn't a quick decision, obviously. But talking to some of the mentors I have in the city, both, in the community and in law enforcement, that's what led me to the decision to go ahead and run.
Gotcha. I will say, in this, as a Chesapeake resident, one thing I have, noticed is the city has had a pattern of, it's basically like, the dropping the baton to whoever is second in command, rather than, of course, when re-elections happen, that's where you do have the elections, but they're already in that position. And I believe in the years of existence of the city of Chesapeake, we've had a total of 4 for
Correct.
sheriff. So again, that's a you count the years, and we have our former sheriff who has endorsed your opponent, current sheriff Dave Rosado.
Right.
I want to ask because in the city of Chesapeake, and really out of the 7 cities, when it comes to current races, I would say this sheriff's race has, in my opinion, been the most spoken, the most notarized, because let's break it down for our listeners who's unaware of the story. So initially we had our primaries. Now you had current sheriff Dave Rosado running for re-election, and he was at the time a registered Republican. And then you had you had yourself. I was about to say you had also the gentleman Wallace. I'm like, hold up, I'm talking to him right now. You had Officer. I'm crazy sometimes. You had Officer. You had yourself also entering the race, and so now you have 2 individuals running during the Republican primary with no Democratic candidate, no independent candidate. So then, boom, it's basically like you guys in the solo. It was a primary, but it was also at the time going to be the primary and the general at the same time, even though it was was the primary. So right then and there, you have that race, and then you have the results. You have yourself as the victor of the Republican primary as a candidate, or again, winner of Chesapeake Sheriff, and then you have current sheriff Dave Rosado announces he's leaving the GOP, running, going to continue this campaign as a write-in candidate. Now, what was going on through your mind, through your campaign? Like, how was that, going on for you? Was it something that you were expecting? Was it a shocker? I mean, anything you would like to share, Officer Chadwick?
Yeah, so let me back you up a little bit to about 2024, when we started to learn when he was appointed sheriff. So he was appointed sheriff in November of that year, 2023. I'm sorry, November 2023. He was appointed sheriff when the other sheriff left. And most sheriffs do that when they know they're getting ready to leave because it's a 4-year term. They do that, and they put this person in office that they would like to see, succeed them. They put him in office so they have that experience so they can run as an incumbent as a sheriff. Gotcha. So that's normal practice in most politics, and I get that. But at that time, what that did was, since it was so many days before an actual election, that triggers with the state election board. It triggers a special election. And what this was, it goes before city council, and city council has to decide whether there's going to be a special election or not, whether the cost and everything is worth it. And he was actively lobbying against a special election. I wanted the special election. I wanted to run right then and there. And this gives the opportunity, and this kind of goes against an argument I'm going to get to in a minute, but this gave the opportunity for every 257,000 residents of the city of Chesapeake to vote for him or vote for me. Republican, Democrat, and Independent. They could have all came out and voted at that time and voted for their sheriff. He lobbied against that to the point where it went to the Circuit Court of Chesapeake here in the district, and the judge sided, saying we're not going to do it because it costs too much money. Now, it cost about $120,000. That's less than $1. That's less than 50 cents per citizen here in Chesapeake. So the cost was minimal, and my numbers are probably off, but it was close to that. So he lobbied against it. I lobbied for it because I feel like the people should choose their elected officials. No one should be crowned, or no one should be anointed. This is an office of the people. And that's what I believe. Anyway, he got to be sheriff for the year, so I had to actively start campaigning, obviously. And when I did, like you mentioned, we were both on the Republican ticket. Chesapeake is still a very red city. We are right there. I mean, we have Republicans, we have Democrats in the city, and you always have those, 10, 15, maybe 20% independents that, that do not vote party lines.
Guilty.
That's right. That's right. And, and that's good, that people look at candidates, and that's the important thing. They look at the character of that person. They look at the leadership. They look at the qualifications, the experience. And that's what I wanted people to see in me. He's sitting in a chair. He has a microphone. He has a podium. I had to get myself out there and talk to people, which is something I love to do. My campaign went out, and I say my campaign, my wife is my manager, one of my best friends that I grew up with, and he's in law enforcement as well. We knocked over 11,000 doors here in the city of Chesapeake. And that may not seem a lot since I said 257,000 residents.
Oh no. Let me tell you something. I don't mean to cut you off. Officer Chadwick, but I had the opportunity to canvass one time, just with the matter of fact, it was with Councilman Les Smith. He's a dear friend.
Yes.
And I had the opportunity to canvass when he was running, and I'd never been canvassing at all. It was a one and done thing for me. I'll be honest. The way I send the message is by conversation. I've learned that is my lane. I think we knocked on 100 in total. Each of us had 50.
Right.
My ass was tired. Okay.
Yes.
So I can imagine. Yes. Excuse my French, but I'm like, that wore me out in the hot summertime. So I can imagine 11,000. Wow.
Yeah. We went all over Chesapeake. We knocked, Hickory. We knocked great. And you know how far the houses are in Hickory. I mean, they're spread out down there somewhere south. I mean, I hit Indian River, my neck of the woods, I went to Deep Creek, Western Branch, and I had a huge following. People loved the message. They didn't know who Wallace Chadwick was at first. I mean, all they knew was he had a bright set of, bright head on him, red hair. And they knew this guy was putting his name in the hat for this position. But once I got to talking to people, they really liked the message. They understood that the sheriff's office, in the 56-year time after Sheriff Hodges, which was the first sheriff you mentioned, we only had a couple of sheriffs. And that, it's the same thing as you take a copy of a piece of paper, you make a copy of that copy, and then you make a copy of that copy. Over time, that gets diluted. It's not the same system that the first sheriff wanted or had in place. And that's something that we're looking to change. There is definite updates that need to be done in that office with leadership, with technology, and it's to run the same way because it's all they know. And that's some of the things that resonated with the residents here in Chesapeake. Chesapeake politics is very unique. We do have a lot of people who are Republican that vote Democrat. We have a lot of Democrats that vote Republican. People really are geared towards their candidate. Now you still have the ones that vote party lines that don't listen to anything. It's just R or D, and that's it. But like I mentioned before, I grew up in Indian River. I mean, that is one of the most culturally diverse schools in the city, as far as politics are concerned, race, gender, all that stuff. And I have friends on both sides. And so in this race, I know when you interviewed my opponent, he talked about he had people on both sides. Well, he did until he switched parties, because that dials down to character in my eyes. He was a Republican. I've got, literature where he's shaking hands with Trump. He's talking about these policies and these things. And then the next week, he's somebody else. And I don't have a problem with whatever party you want to be with, but stick to your principles, stick to your values, stick to those core things that you join that party for. I'm not making no bones about it. I'm a Republican. That's who I am. I'm Republican because I want.
You are? Oh God, we got to end this. No, I'm joking. This interview is over. I did not know. I was unaware. No, I'm messing with you, man.
No, you're good. But like I said, I have topics that are core to me. It's strong military, fiscal conservancy, a smaller government. I believe that people should be making decisions in their life, not government. It's things like that make me Republican. Now, there's all kinds of other ancillary things that we can talk about that, I may agree or disagree with my party with. But those are the core values I think you should stick with. And for somebody to just up and pull those things and go and say a totally different narrative, that bothers me. So I'm not out here asking Democrats, get on board with me. If they want to, they like my message, I would appreciate it. But I'm not trying to tell you somebody I'm not. And that's the difference between the character of my opponent and myself. 10,000 doors. We'll get back to that. 10,000 doors we knocked in this city. That message resonated. And to the point where the night of the election, the day, June 17th, we won by almost 20 points. In the entire city. I took Hickory, I took Western Branch, I took Indian River. I better took Indian River. That's my hometown. I took Greenbrier, I took Great Bridge, and it just, it empowered me to know that my message was getting out there and that people really did want that change. Even his own deputies currently are coming out open. They're doing videos for me. They're doing, these people will have to work there, and they go through great strides to put themselves out there, having to work there for the next couple of months until this office change is over. So, I mean, it's just something when people want change. There's strength in numbers, there's strength in messaging, there's strength in communicating with the community.
No, absolutely. I totally agree on that one. And I will say this, because I have very close friends that work in law enforcement. I've seen signs out there. And again, you have, to my knowledge, majority support of law enforcement officers, and that's a
Yeah.
mixture of different, again, going back to a different perspective, different political affiliations, and
Right.
follow, that are supporting you. So that does speak volumes. I will say this too. And I've spoken with Sheriff Dave Rosado about this. It's a tough battle for voters that will say, okay, how can I put it? How authentic is he after doing? I know you mentioned about, hey, look, I'm being honest. I'm a Republican. That's me. That's what you're gonna get. If you don't prefer my politics and this and that, but still you're being honest and upfront. And I've shared on the show before. When folks parties switch, I'm not gonna lie, it's not the fact that I guess for me, it's more on the lines of party switching than saying I go independent, because I understand the going independent space, leaving a party rather than going from one party to another. So I kind of, press them just a little bit on those kind of questions, because again, voters are gonna, want to know. That's what the people want to know. Now, going back to, again, you are a registered Republican. Here in the city of Chesapeake, it's been kind of a battle of former and some even current elected officials that were at once a part of the Republican Party and that has left the party. It's been a shift, and I think we see that really on a national level. And look, this happens on really both sides. We've seen folks to say, hey, look, the party that I've been a part of is no longer the party that has been, so on and so on. Do you I say all that to add, do you see it a little difficult with your campaign? Again, you're very open about being, hey, look, conservative sheriff for your, do you look at that as kind of a difficulty in this election, because we're in a climate now where most folks really want to be more central or more centered than partisan? So do you have any, slight, I don't know, have you come across folks of opposing side that really wants, really presses you on certain questions, especially you being, hey, very open about being a conservative?
I don't run into many that go, hey, you're Republican, I don't want to listen to you. I don't run into many. Now, there have been a few that, again, we go back to this party line people that, what are you, and they want it. That's the first question they ask you. Republican, I don't want to talk to you. And that's fine. I'll leave them alone, But if you think about, elected officials here in the city of Chesapeake or whatever job it is, you have commissioner of revenue, treasurer, you have many different positions.
Yep, I can hear you.
Many different positions. Out and as far as law enforcement, the sheriff, their job should not be Republican, Democrat. Their job should be for the people, and that's the message that I have. I want change in technology. I want deputies to have the best training out there. I want to change the culture of that office where people have free speech, where they can go in and feel the need to be part of the organization and talk about those things openly. Right now, they don't have those things. Those are not values of Democrats. Those are not values of Republicans. Those are values of humans. And that's the message that I send. While I may be a Republican, and I'm proud to be that, it should not bleed over into the job of the deputies every day. And it should not bleed over into how I police my agency. I've been a Republican my whole life, but I have always done my job in law enforcement fair, and I've always done it for everybody. I don't ask the victim of a crime, what party do you serve, before I help them and I assist them. And that's the thing we have to get away from. Law enforcement is the position of sheriff is inherently political. I get it, but the job of the sheriff should not be political. The job of the sheriff should be for all the people of Chesapeake. And that's the message that I send out there. And that right there alone is why I got a lot of Democrat support. Is because I told them, this is me. This is who you get. I've not been in public service or political service, my whole life, like my write-in opponent has, And again, I'm a Republican. I ran as a Republican. I won as a Republican, and my opponent dropped the Republican Party that day, and a week later joined the Democrat Party, and now he's saying all these other things. So you really have to look at the content. You have to look at the integrity of the messaging. If I lost that election, I would have called him that night and said, hey, Sheriff Rosado, congratulations on your win. Please let me know if you need any assistance from me. And I would have rallied behind the Republican victor of that primary. He didn't do that.
Now, I want to, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Officer
No,
Chadwick.
you're good.
Definitely want to talk more on your campaign because I'm looking at my time. But I do want to say this, and just because again, I've spoken around a variety of groups within the area, just to kind of hear their point. Is what's your opinion on this case, this race, and what's your take on it? Some folks will bring up going back to the primary season. For a gentleman like Sheriff Rosado, right? He's been in the sheriff office for a number of years. He was a registered Republican. To all of a sudden, folks see that the Republican Party did not endorse him. Again, this is not to degrade your success, because you're very highly very qualified for the role. But again, seeing how kind of like that drama, like actions speak more louder than words in a sense. And so when they see things like that, they're like, wait a minute, maybe he did the right, because he probably didn't have the support, from the get-go. But again, I always tell, I say other things. Just at the end of the day, I'm like, well, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. That's how you feel. Get out there and vote. But and I don't mean to answer your own question, but I mean, I just wanted to kind of put that out there, because that has been talk of the town, just seeing the way this has been. But I want to talk about your campaign. Just some questions now. Say, what do you see as far as one of the biggest public safety challenges in the city?
I think one of the biggest things is this is a broad brush I'm going to paint here, but people have to have trust in their law enforcement agencies. You watch national news nowadays, and that is one of the biggest things. And President Barack Obama did a great job putting out the 21st century policing many years ago during his presidency, and the 6 pillars of law enforcement. And the one that sticks out to me and most law enforcement officers is trust and legitimacy in their law enforcement agencies. People have to understand, and they have to trust that as a government official, someone who can come and take away their constitutional rights, for something they did, people have to trust that we're doing the right thing. When trust is earned, trust is not given, trust is earned. Even as a police officer, I put a badge on, I put a gun on, I have patches on my arm, identify myself as a police officer. That doesn't give me trust. Trust is earned through the community. People have to understand that. And for you to have trust, like, again, you have to have that legitimacy in your law enforcement agency. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges right now in law enforcement. And piggybacking off of that, I think training is the other big thing. And that's also one of the pillars identified in that study. But training, you have to train for the jobs you're doing. And that's one of the things that the deputies are crying out for over there right now in the sheriff's office, is they don't get selected for the training that they need. And when you put a law enforcement officer out there with a badge and gun on, people think of, he knows how to shoot, or she knows how to shoot, she knows how to drive fast. No, I'm talking about communication skills. You have to be able to talk to people and de-escalate a hostile situation. We make split-second decisions based on very inaccurate information. You have to have that knowledge base. And, stress shows, and it's called stress inoculation. When you go through a stressful situation and somebody presents an issue to you in the public, you have split-second decisions to decide: do I pull my gun? Do I go hands-on? Do I use a taser? Do I use something? I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
We have that knowledge. We have to have that knowledge. We have to have that training. And that's what the deputies want right now. And these are things that build up over time, and these are the reasons, like they said, hey, we need that leadership that recognizes that we need to reestablish trust and legitimacy in our community. We need to have that training, and our culture should be better in this sheriff's office than it is right now. And like I said, those are some of the big problems I see that need to be reestablished within that office.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more as far as on training aspect, because again, we're in a society where law enforcement in general is, and you mentioned early in the show, there is still a gap between there needs to be a gap. How am I saying? We need to bridge the gap between community and law enforcement, because at the end of the day, it goes to training. I was very open at the time when there were some there were campaigns out saying defund. I'm like, no, let's be honest. If you're saying defund, but if something happens to you, if crap hits the fan, who you calling? Ghostbusters? Right. No, you got to call law enforcement. So at the end of the day, I do think training is a big part. As you mentioned, you said communication. I do believe that when it comes to you have certain folks patrolling areas, let them get familiar with, maybe have somebody that's from those communities to have somewhat of a, get comfortable before you
Absolutely.
just say, wait, I've never been here. I've never been in these neck of the woods. Because look, I'm from Chesapeake. There's parts of Chesapeake I have never been into, nor do I want to. But, but working in acts of service, I have gone to those communities because I know that's the ones that, definitely need some of the assistance. So I just want to, again, agree with you on that aspect of that safety. Now, I want to go to school safety. We have witnessed too many. I mean, it's disgusting that I'm even saying this, but so recently we witnessed a tragic assassination of a conservative activist, Charlie Kirk, that was at a university. Now, that same day in Colorado, there was a school shooting. Now, I say it's disgusting me saying it, but we hear about it. It's almost starting to be the norm. Like, I mean, school just started. Why are we having these issues? So what do you push to as far as a priority if when you're if you're elected? How would you take care of the safety in schools, local schools in the city of Chesapeake?
So I think that's paramount. That is a given that we must take care of the kids in these schools. And they're very, you're talking about one of the most vulnerable portions of our population here in this city and across the nation for that matter. Kids can't protect themselves. They don't have that, that ability. They don't expect that to be happening in their place of education. But as a school resource officer for so many years, I saw the value of having an officer in school, and you're talking about deterrence and you're talking about taking action if need be. So deterrence would be a uniformed officer in school. Or deputy in school. And here in Chesapeake, we're kind of split. We have 17 police officers that operate on the high school, middle school, and any kind of special school service. And in the sheriff's office, they just started a program, thanks to our city council, our school board. They put it together back with Jim O'Sullivan when he was sheriff. They started this program and they put school resource deputies into the elementary and intermediate schools. Right now, there's 12. We have numerous schools that are uncovered because they have to cover 2. My plan would be to fully fund that program and put deputies in every school. I don't think you could put a price tag on safety. And for me, I would want to put a deputy in that school, park that marked car right out in front of the bus ramp so everyone sees it. But again, I go back to training. These officers and deputies in these schools have to have that school safety training. They have to be able to understand the difference between, the civilian version, which is run, hide, fight, to, hey, I've got to go to the problem now because I'm the only one here that's going to deal with this. I have the gun, I have the authority, and I have those things. I think, you have to have the presence, number one, and you have to have the training to handle the school issues that we're having right now. And it's sad that we got to do that. But I'd rather be proactive on a situation like this than reactive. As we all know, policy is written in blood. And I don't want that to happen here in Chesapeake. So I would fully fund that program. I'd work my staff to get that a deputy in every school as possible.
Recruitment and retention of deputies. Now, I know that's a challenge really nationwide. How would you make Chesapeake, an attractive department for law enforcement professionals?
The good thing in Chesapeake is we have pay parity. So pay parity, what that means is our fire department, our police department, and our sheriff's office all get paid the same regardless. So a deputy lieutenant and a police lieutenant and a fire, it's a captain at their level. But those 3 levels make the same amount of money. So right now, the Chesapeake Sheriff's Office is one of the highest paid in the state because of that. Because you don't have sheriff's offices that usually make the same as their police departments or their fire departments. But here in Chesapeake, it's different because our city council loves us. They take care of us. Our community loves us. They pay us really well. So I would ensure that we maintain that pay parity here, which is attractive to law enforcement officers. And you talked about defund the police earlier. I think we're looking at defund the police because no one really wants to come do this job. That was one of the effects of defund the police, I really think. So we have to get over that. And really, like I said, and your department has to reflect your community. You have to hire people from within your community, from all areas of the community, not just the best ones. You have to go and recruit in these areas that people should be working in to get that in partnership with the community I was speaking about earlier. So those are some things, you have to have a diverse community. You have to have a diverse department. It goes hand in hand. And I think that's something that I would strive to do in the sheriff's office. And again, competitive pay, competitive benefits, maintain that. And again, a good culture. People don't leave bad jobs. They leave bad bosses. And I think that's what you're seeing right now going on in the sheriff's office. That's something I want to change.
What it will be your philosophy balancing tough on crimes approaches, like with rehabilitation and second chances?
So I believe in rehabilitation. Again, I am a person that was not a stellar performer as a child, as a juvenile, which is why I went to the Marine Corps. They had to have a way of fixing that, by the way. I'm a product of being counseled for bad behavior when I was younger. I never did anything criminal or anything like that. But you learn from those mistakes. And I believe in second chances. I believe that we have to have a more robust program to prevent recidivism here in Chesapeake. And recidivism meaning, reoffend rates. People come back into the jail. What I want to do is really get some skills going in the jail. Have all kinds of programs I want to start. I know, they've done a good job, and I won't take that away from the sheriff's office now. They do a good job with programs. But I think there's more room for improvement on those programs. And what I'm talking about is getting better education, faith-based organizations within the jail. I'm talking about education inside the jail, getting people GEDs, getting some colleges to come on board, maybe an associate's degree. They have the small engine repair shop in there now. They have a horticulture program in there where they're growing food for local food banks. But there's room for expansion in there. Our jail, we get $64 million budget from the city of Chesapeake, not to mention the state compensation board, and there's some federal funds in there too. But one thing I didn't mention, I founded a nonprofit here in Chesapeake in 2009 that raises money for fallen law enforcement officers. And since we're in 41 states across the country, and to date, we have raised over $11 million for fallen law enforcement officers, their kids, their families. Awesome. And I don't take it. I'm still the CEO, and I don't make a dime out of that because it is truly service to me. But I tell you all that to tell you this: I know business. I know how to make money charity wise. I know how to get charities involved in their community to work and do things. And that's something I really want to do. I want to encourage deputies to get out there and work in the communities, because it's not just about running the correctional center. It's not just about, finding people when they've done something wrong. I think we need to get on a proactive measure and really get out there and work with the community. And that's something that I would be committed to do. To help reduce that recidivism, to show that there's life after jail, and work with them while they're incarcerated. And mental health, one thing we haven't talked about much is mental health. We have to recognize that mental health is not a crime. Mental health requires people that need help. And we have to identify that help that they need, get them to help, get whatever, doctors, medications, whatever they need. And we have to push them out of the jail. So that's another thing that, a lot of people, oh, the jail's full. Well, there's a lot of mental health problems inside the jail. And I think there's a big difference between that and crime. I know we're talking fast here. I'm going through a lot of stuff.
You're fine. No, you're fine. You're fine. I mean, no, this, but this is important. This is important stuff. And this is the whole reason why I love doing what I'm doing here, having these conversations with folks like yourself, so that people can be aware of these things. Because I'll be honest, and this occurs everywhere in the, in the 50 states here in the United States, local races, local politics, residents really are kind of unaware of what happened. I mean, we talked about, the primaries. The primaries had really low turnout numbers. And yes, it's always normally lower than your general election, but still, it's like we have to do better, folks. And I mean, and I can't always blame it on the residents, but it's about, okay, what ways are they getting that attention, being aware of what's going on in their communities,
right?
And that's a whole another conversation, because I've been guilty of pressing our local council, which hey, I know a lot of them, and it's okay because at the end of the day, they signed up for that position. And so this is another tough question I want to ask here. Now, as a business owner, as a lifelong resident, we got to talk money. We got to talk taxes here. So with you, the sheriff department, and you've mentioned, but the sheriff's office has one of the largest budgets in the city of Chesapeake. Now, how will you ensure taxpayer dollars are spent wisely?
So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, because one of the things I talk about in my campaign is transparency. And right now, you can go and try and search for some of those line items and what the sheriff's office is spending money on. You can't find it. I think you have to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. When people are funding their government through taxes, they should be able to come to the office, open up, look inside the books or online, whatever you want to do it, and they should be able to find out exactly what kind of money I'm spending in that office. But again, I told you I'm a fiscal conservative. I really believe in stretching those dollars out. Now, and I don't want to go too hard on my opponent here. I know that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about issues, but one of the things when he was appointed, he bought carpets. He bought stickers for signs. He bought wall emblems. He bought murals for cars with his face and name all over them. He was the interim appointed sheriff. To me, that $22,000 could have gone to something else. And people ask me all the time, what's the first thing you're going to do as sheriff? And my response is, I'm going to go in that office. I'm going to take those carpets up. I'm going to take down the wall stickers. I'm going to take down the murals, and I'm going to do all that stuff. They're like, yeah, and you're going to put your own name on there as, Sheriff Wallace Chadwick. I said, no, I'm going to put Chesapeake Sheriff's office on the door because that office is bigger than one person. And I think if we check that ego and we check that stuff, then we can be more fiscally responsible, because I don't need to spend money on telling people I'm the sheriff. They elected me. I don't need to put my name all over everything, because it is about that office. And that's one of the biggest differences between him and I. But again, I won't spend money on those things. Those things are not needed. We should be spending money on the corrections. We should be spending money on court securities. We should be spending money on those school resource deputy programs to make it a safer school and make it a safer city. Again, I don't need the accolades. I just need to do the job. And I think that's one way we can be more fiscally responsible with money. There's all kinds of areas you can cut in budgets. Salaries and benefits are the biggest burden. I want to say burden, but biggest expense on city government. And that's one of the biggest things that we have in Chesapeake. I know from the police department and the sheriff's office. But there's areas that you can cut budgets, and that's one that I can think of that I would cut right away.
So say if elected, after you rip off the stickers and the carpets, what will be one of your main priority that you would love to one of your first priorities that you would love to tackle once in office?
So, and I've had this conversation with several people when I do talks. They say, what's the first operations thing you're going to do, or thing to better the office? And it's simple for me. Again, I'm a servant leader. I think the first thing I'm going to do is put on a uniform, and I'm going to walk across the street from my office to that jail, and I'm going to work a 12-hour shift with those deputies. I want to ask them questions like, what about this job are you not safe in? What about this job can we change from your level, from your perspective? Leadership flies way up here. The deputies are down here. I don't have the luxury of seeing exactly what they do every day, which is why you have to communicate with those people. People have to have buy-in in their jobs. And I think that's one of the things that me and my senior staff would be able to do is go over, work a shift with them, work 2 shifts with them, work Christmas with them, and find out exactly what they're doing. What can we do to make this job better? That is one thing I will do first and foremost, as far as operations is concerned.
Awesome. Well, no, I want to put up here for those who are watching. Give me 1 second, family, as I bring up your site for more ways folks can continue to support, get to know Officer Chadwick. Officer Chadwick, again, I put in your site, but if you don't mind, mentioning other avenues, other factors for residents here in the city of Chesapeake to get to know you a little more, or just how they can stay in touch with, maybe have some local events happening until election day.
Yeah, we have a barbecue coming up this Saturday at Cahoon Plantations Golf Course. It's right in Grassfield section of Chesapeake. I'm doing meet and greets all the time. I encourage them to go to the website. We put out information on my Facebook page is very active. I do coffee meet and greets. It costs you nothing. You can come out and talk to me, ask me whatever question you want. I'll answer. You'll get the full honest truth from me. You can pick up signs. You can pick up stickers. All of those things are available at these meet and greets. Again, my Facebook page is the best way to keep in contact about what we're doing in the community and events popping up. As you know, we're getting close to the election, so I'm doing some door knocking right now, getting out and talking. So hopefully, if they're listening, I will get to your door eventually. But if not, I answer my text messages all the time. So I have it, on my Facebook page. Go to Messenger, ask me a detailed question. I answer all questions all the time. That's what I do. I can't campaign on duty. I'm an active police officer here in the city of Chesapeake, and a Hatch Act violation. I can't do that. But when I get off work every day, the first thing I do is come home, start answering emails, and start answering text messages. Because again, I think it's important for the community to ask those questions and know who they're voting for. I mean, you said it. Local elections have the biggest impact on you, the citizen in this area. A lot of people always don't worry about the down ballot, but when you want to pay your taxes, you got the Commissioner of Revenue right here in the city of Chesapeake. When you call, you're gonna get that Commissioner of Revenue. When you need an attorney, you're gonna get that Commonwealth attorney. So local elections are very important. And like you said it, I echo that. And know your candidates, know who you're voting for. Don't just pay attention to the R or D behind their names.
Absolutely. Well, boss man, look, I want to chop it up with you just for a few minutes after this show. But again, thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for making the time out of your busy schedule. Again, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed yet another great Gavin show. Be sure to tune in weeknights to the Arrington Gavin show. Peace and blessings. I'm out.